Wrapping up with the Southwest Division, the Dallas Mavericks coming off of a title run or a finals run. Couple big additions: Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall. Um, but how does this team take that step forward?
Julian Strawther at 33 tonight. I'm sorry, I'm having too much fun. Basketball's around the corner. I don't know. I'm a little nervous about Dallas. I have a good friend of mine, diehard Warriors fan. Shout out Nick. And we had some words last year because I said I don't think the Warriors should re-sign Klay. And now everyone's starting to act like Klay is just Klay of 5 years ago. And I don't know if I'm buying any of that. And I think a lot of people think he's just going to fit perfectly for Dallas. No, maybe. Still Klay Thompson, still can get red hot. But are we just convinced that this happens a lot when teams get to the finals and then all of a sudden we're just like, oh, well, they made it to the finals. They should automatically be back there or take that next step. And it's like, we could go backwards too. Celtics could do it. But I think I'm a little cautious about can you remake that magical run that you just had? Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you are wrong at all. I'm skeptical too, and I'm not sure it's totally fair that I am, because it wouldn't shock me if Luka is the MVP this year.
Right.
Kyrie is Kyrie. There'll be ups and downs, but he's still an incredible basketball player. But so much of their playoff success was insane outlier shooting by PJ Washington and Derrick Jones Jr., mainly Derrick Jones Jr. And he's gone, went off to LA, and they replaced him with Najee Marshall, who I think is one of the more underrated players in the league. He's a very good role player. Just kind of got stuck behind Herb Jones and Trey Murphy and, the other gluttony of wings and forwards that the Pelicans have. But last year, Marshall ranked in the 81st percentile spotting up, 76th percentile off the catch. When he was on the court, the Pelicans had a defensive rating of 110.8, which ranked in the 89th percentile. His on-off net rating differential was plus 8.1, 89th percentile. When he was on the court, the Pelicans had an offensive rating of 118.9, 80th percentile. He shot 39% on corner threes, 41% overall, and rebounded at a high level, 96th percentile on defensive rebounds, 76th percentile on steal percentage. I think he's just a really solid player. And I think the odds of him kind of filling in that production and the efficiency and the versatility that Derrick Jones showed in the playoffs last year, I think it's a little more feasible for Marshall to come in and do close to that again, rather than Derrick Jones coming back and repeating that, if that makes sense.
Completely agree. I like their moves. I thought they had a big offseason. I'm just a little... I'm sorry. I thought they had a very big trade deadline. I got my dog trying to basically knock my mic setup off. I just wonder if the offseason moves are going to make it a little difficult. And you're spot on with a lot of those guys just played outstanding down the final stretch. And it's like, okay, can you now? Yeah, you probably could carry that over and make it like a new thing. It could be just the perfect fit. PJ was a fantastic trade for them. I loved when they got him. I was like, this is been waiting for him to get out of Charlotte. No offense, Hornets fans. And I thought he was perfect. Lively year 2. Sure. Sign me up. Daniel Gafford's still there. I like those two. I just have questions. It's just, we'll see. And I'm not a Mavs hater. They could easily, like you said, Luka could be MVP. And wouldn't shock me. Kyrie's still damn good at basketball. But I don't know. It just feels a little weird still to me.
Yeah, I get the excitement.
The Exum injury, there's just stuff where I'm like, I don't know if you're gonna put all the ingredients back in it. It's gonna be the same thing. Maybe it's a second round and it didn't happen, but they're still gonna be good.
Yeah, and because when you have Luka plus Kyrie plus Derek Lively, And what kind of leap does he take in year two? And we didn't even mention him, but I think the improve, just additional spacing. I think they're very real pathways for them to take that for them to find their way back to the Western Conference Finals or NBA Finals or even a title. But just something feels off, and getting Klay Thompson on paper looks awesome. He's not shooting well. He didn't shoot well really last year, or to what we consider well for him. He can't defend anyone. Quentin Grimes, I'm still holding out hope, but last year was a lot more of a struggle for him than people seem to remember too.
Yeah.
So it's tricky, it's tough, but I think Najee Marshall plus year two of Derek Lively is a big way for them to take that full step forward, if that makes sense.
For sure. And the last thing I'll say is like Luka, if you just get Luka to the playoffs, you've got a shot. Because that dude reaches immediately another 2 levels higher. That it's like just terrifying.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the New Orleans Pelicans, and just kind of same old thing with them as we've talked about for months now. What big can they make a move for? So currently they only have Yves Missy, Carlo Matkovic, Daniel Tice. Just murderer's row of centers there. Zion is their leading rebounder in the preseason with 5 per game. Second on that list, DeJounte Murray at 4.7. Whenever you can have your point guard being your second leading rebounder, you just have to do it. So what bigs can they make a move for? On Spotrac, their current free
you've got a list. I knew it. Give me okay. Go ahead.
No,
go
just
ahead.
The top current free agent centers on Spotrac's list was JaVale McGee, Boban Marjanovic, who just signed for Fenerbahce in Turkey, Omer Yurtseven, who just signed for Panathinaikos in Greece, Udoka Azubuike, who just signed for Montenegro, Damian Jones, who signed over in China, Chimezie Metu, who's currently signed with Barcelona, and Bismack Biyombo. They're going to have to make a trade because the way this roster is set up, it's not feasible for them to make a run. And, I know we talked about maybe a Jared Allen move, maybe an Evan Mobley move if they're willing to really sweeten the pot. But if I'm Cleveland, you're going to have to come in way over the top paying for either of those guys. And I'm not eager to move either of them right now. So I don't know what they do.
Yeah, you got to get someone cheap. You like, I still feel like kicking the tires on Ayton or Robert Williams. If Robert Williams is healthy, maybe you get an international guy that hey, you can get him after the year. Yeah, this is where you're scouting. Like I would probably be my first, just because it makes sense with that team. I would be trying to kick the can on Robert Williams if he was healthy.
But talk about big ifs.
But big if. But it's also like, hey, if he gets back to health, you get him at the deadline. Can you get him for, can you buy some time and then get him for a playoff run? Sure. It gets slim, it really does. So you got to get creative for your scouting department. If you got one overseas, could do some real wonders. If you could, like Tice came over from overseas for Boston. He's going to be a good piece because he's going to understand how to play just as a vet, understand his role. Not going to put up stats, but at least you're not throwing Missy to the Wolves right out of the gate, which we thought they were going to do.
Kind of long shot, but say Toronto just sucks. And they finally, exactly. And they're finally like, all right, this isn't working. We're going for that top 5 pick. Here's Jakob Poeltl.
I'm just trying to even think of like anyone.
It's tough because there aren't a lot of
Looney. If the Warriors it doesn't work,
I'd be floored if he's been so integral to what they do. His
but if
rebounding,
you're just like,
the
hey,
verticality, the feel.
No, it gets tough because you're just like, hey, you're gonna have to call every team and be like, will you trade him? No, okay, call us the next team. Will you trade him? No, like
And like
we
even
need a bit.
guys like Jock Lawndale
Beef
and Drew
Beef Stew is a
Eubanks
good
and
little one. In the
Beef Stew.
comments,
Yeah,
Brian, that's a good one. Beef Stew, yeah. So I mean, you got to get creative. You have
yeah.
to be like, hey, we're gambling on this guy of making an impact for us. Go ahead, Mecca.
No, that's all I got.
Sorry, I'm really excited about basketball season and life.
All right. Well,
So, what else we got?
just another team that I think we're both very excited about is the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
And what does their rotation end up as? So you may be able to speak a little better to this than I can. But how deep of a rotation does Ime Udoka kind of tend to run? Because like some coaches
Um,
are real strict about kind of keeping it to like 8, 9 guys. Others are a little more adventurous, getting into like the 10 or 11 range. But when you look at how deep and kind of versatile this team is, it's like I've got to imagine that's going to be kind of a pretty big rotation.
I think MA is usually a next like a hey, you stay ready,
Yeah.
which I think a lot of guys do to try to like you stay ready because you never know, and I think he gives guys shots. Like that's why I've never been sold on like, oh, Reed is not going to play. I'm like, no, he's gonna because eventually MA is going to be like, I need someone to step up offensively, and Reed's going to come in and have like 15 off the bench and shoot like 6 of 8, and it's going to be like, oh, there's my smart, efficient bucket guy.
Did you see he's shooting only like 20% from 3 in the preseason? Fraud.
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 I'll take the over. Anyone want to do an over under bet? I'll take the over. I mean, it is.
Okay,
Like,
so
so
for their
Van Vliet,
rotation right now.
let's do Van Vliet, Jalen Green. We're just throwing hypotheticals.
So I think their starters are going to be Şengün, Jabari, Dylan Brooks, Fred Van Vliet, and Jalen Green.
Right. And
Does that
then
feel
you've
pretty safe?
got,
Well, then
yeah,
off the bench, you have Steven Adams, Amen Thompson, Tari Eason, Cam Whitmore, Reed Shepard, Jock Lawndale.
I would say Tari, Amen,
But that's 11 names.
Whitmore, Reed.
You don't think Adams plays at all?
No, I do think he will play. I'm saying like I think eventually you're shifting to. I think Reed will take over the backup duties to Van Vliet. You get Amen's going to be their utility weapon. They're going to move
I
all
think he's
over.
probably going to be their 6-man.
Amen.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't be shocked if he starts by the end of the year. And I think Tari, if you're staying healthy, you're going to have to play him.
Over
Steven
who?
Adams. No, you're going to have to play him just minutes. Like he's going to have to be
No, who would Amen start over?
Brooks
Nice.
or Jalen. Amen is going to be.
Oh, that's not a slight on Amen.
No, I know. I just. I think that he's going to have that big of a year.
Maybe.
I also.
Yeah, maybe.
You might be right. He might be six man talks because they might just be playing him everywhere.
Yeah.
Like Steven Adams is going to be a very fun wrinkle for this team.
Yeah, I hope they can kind of keep him healthy.
Me too. I think he'd be great for them.
Wild how isn't he still like super young? Or at
I
least
feel like he had like one bad injury. He's 31. He could easily carve out a couple of years of.
You could have told me he was 45 and be like, "Yep."
Could have told me he's 22.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I like their team. It's just kind of
I just think it's going to be really fascinating because I'm not sure. They're just in February. Are they running 8 deep? Are they going the full 10, 11? They have a lot of really fascinating kind of paths that they could go down, and in summer or like right after summer league, I was a little hesitant because I just wasn't totally confident that Shepard would get consistent minutes and kind of earn that trust as a rookie. I'd be shocked if he didn't at this point.
Do you think Jalen Green's on the roster at the end of the season?
No.
If you traded him, where would you put a we don't know who they'd trade him for. Just throwing it out
Brooklyn.
there. We're having fun here.
Jalen Green
What?
and Cam Thomas. Trade him to Brooklyn.
No, come on. Just we're having fun here. You move. You have to. So we have to remove Jalen Green out of the lineup. Who would you put in the starting lineup? Be a man.
Probably a man. Maybe Tari, if he's shooting.
Ooh.
If he's healthy and shooting.
So you're moving Brooks to the 2?
Yeah. And Tari's defensive playmaking, just defensive numbers in general, rebounding, they were fantastic when he was healthy. So I think he's still not back. I think he's still out for a little bit.
I'd probably agree, or I'm putting him in at the.
I'd be fine with him in there too, but it comes down to if Tari's shooting 38 to 40% from 3, I'd probably throw him in there. If not, then Amen's probably an easy choice.
I still like Jalen. I just feel like it's a writing on the wall.
Yeah.
Unless he just has like a big change year. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it's just what I if anything, I think so much of the youth coming behind that's like loading. I just feel like there's going to be an odd man out eventually. Could it be Dylan Brooks? Sure. Could it be like, hey, it's Jalen? Sure. Very pumped for Şengün. I think Steven Adams could be a very big piece for them if healthy, like you said. And then Tari healthy, and then Whitmore too. Like I'm really excited for this team, but I think Reed will be finding his way on the court pretty easily.
Someone else that I think is going to easily find their way onto the court. Is this Zach Edey excitement real with the Memphis Grizzlies?
Did we overthink Zach Edey?
Did we? And by we, I mean you. And by you, I mean me a little bit.
No, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I told you where I'd like to draft him. I still feel the same way. He landed in a great fit. I don't regret anything I said.
So he's currently averaging 13.5 points, 54% shooting, 7.3 rebounds, 1.3 blocks in 20 minutes. How big of a role do you think he'll have on this team?
He should have a big one.
Starting?
I mean, you get to a point, like, why the hell not? You know what I'm just saying? Like, you get to a point where if he's being efficient, and it's always an interesting wrinkle because, like, I'm excited to see what they start out the year with their rotation like, because, like, I would love him coming off the bench to just, like, it's Zach Edey hour, baby. Like, just bully ball against backups.
You have to come in to deal with him. God.
Yeah, and then but also, like, you start out like I just think your backup center, Edey, going to work on bench and getting them all messed up, foul trouble. Then you're reliant on your starter. Like, it can cause some headaches for coaching staffs, but also, like, if he's at a point where he's just a beast, like, put him next to Jaren, go to work. But it's this thing we keep saying. Like, I really do think it's so important now. You have to have versatility in the NBA. You can't just be like, hey, this is my 5 every night. You have to be able to kind of play to, like, the other side of the table. You got to play chess. You can't just be playing checkers. So I think it's real. I think he landed in the perfect fit that team needed him to be. Like, they went Valanciunas to their Steven Adams. Like, this is the new wave. They've been missing this piece.
Yeah, so I was you mentioned Steven Adams, and I was just kind of curious how important he was to Ja Morant and Triple J. So when those guys were all healthy in the 2022-23 season, had to go back a little ways because last year was a disaster. Ja Morant and Steven Adams on the court had a 8.0 net rating, 92nd percentile, 118.7 offensive rating, 84th percentile, and a 110.7 defensive rating, 88th percentile. When you keep those two on and add Jaren Jackson Jr. as well, that net rating jumped to 15, 99th percentile, a 119 offensive rating, 85th percentile, and a 104 defensive rating, 99th percentile. Now, I'm not saying Zach Edey is, a 1-for-1 for that, but similar stylistically, incredibly strong, not the most mobile, rim running, explosive guys, not going to space the floor, but really high level screener, fantastic rebounder, consistent interior finisher, screener, all that kind of stuff. I think the Grizzlies are going to be really good this year.
I think just early on, I don't want 80 heavy minutes. That's my big thing. I would want spurts to. Now, maybe if you start the game off that, first subs come out, you go small, and Jaren moves to the 5 for a little bit. I don't know. That's fine. But I've always thought that Jaren next to a center was the smartest route to go because you get that size, that versatility. Now, people will be like, well, why were you guys talking about, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen? A different story because it's system, it's fit. Jaren plays a little bit more perimeter where he can shoot that 3 ball. And I also just think there's more versatility and bulkiness, and also just understand how to play kind of alongside each other.
Also, the foul issues with Jaren when he was the main center compared to not, and the rebounding differences as well.
You're gonna put a 7'4" guy next to previous like defensive player of the year candidate. So it's a good debate. What would you do?
I'd start him.
Yeah.
Start him, aim for 25 minutes
early or wait till he gets his. Oh, I love that. Love that out of you. No,
why not?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Last team, home stretch, almost done. Wrapping up with the San Antonio Spurs.
What fitting. Perfect.
So surely we'll see more efficient, competent lineups with Wemby on the floor, right?
So, like, I watched their game the other night against Miami. Am I the only one that still has Jeremy Sohan stock? Because he looked great.
No, I still like Sohan.
Castle looks good. Shocker.
Yeah, we tried to tell you guys. We tried.
We didn't listen.
So here, I'm just going to run through.
I like their team. I like their team.
A little bit of lineup data here. So their 3 worst 5-man lineups that kind of qualified for net rating percentile ranks last season in 192 possessions with a negative 20.7 net rating. Sohan, Vassell, Keldon, Wemby, Zach Collins. 180 possessions, minus 15.1 net rating. Sohan, Branham, Keldon, Wemby, Collins. Then finally, 161 possessions with a minus 3.1 net rating. Wesley, Branham, Keldon, Chetty Osman, Wemby. Common theme between those, you can't play more than one complete non-shooter with Wemby, and playing him with another center, it just doesn't work. So I know Wemby and Sohan, that pairing got all the kind of highlight because Sohan was playing point and it just didn't work. But when Wemby was with Sohan, minus 3.6 net rating without minus 2.9, so not a whole lot of differential. That was over 25 or over 2,600 possessions together, just under 1,800 possessions without. Wemby with Zach Collins on the floor. So the two of them, that 2 big lineup, negative 13.4 net rating. When Zach Collins was off, minus 0.8 net rating. I don't think Jeremy Sohan was the end all be all issue last year.
He wasn't. No. I'm watching them play, and yes, it's Chris Paul. Yes, it's the second half of his career, Chris Paul. But you can already just tell the difference. Like, Sohan looks so comfortable out there. I'm convinced the Spurs were going mad scientist mode and like trying to just be like, Jeremy, we're developing this part of your game. We don't care. Looks like we're working on this for the future. I just am buying it. I think it's going to look fine.
Sohan was also part of Wemby's 2 best 5-man lineups.
Yeah, so I've always been a fan. He's still only 21 years old, so he's young. I think they got some stuff going. I'm Vassell being banged up was annoying, but I'm excited to see that. And then Castles looked just the way we thought. So it's amazing what actual point guard has done already for them. I'm excited to watch them the whole year. Wemby still does some stuff that I'm like, good God. So, are I got a question for you. Is it a disappointment if they don't make the playoffs?
No.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
That would be an insane win leap. And it's not like their roster's all
But they
that
might have
awesome.
the best one of the best players in the NBA right now.
Well, sure.
And yes, everyone can freak out about it.
He's also in his second year.
Is it his second year? They might have one of the best rising stars in the NBA right now. So it's in his second year. I would, if they make the playoffs, everyone's going to freak out. Oh gosh, I'll mute ESPN. But it would be an incredible accomplishment, especially in the West. I think they're another year away minimum.
You're goddamn right, Brian. Castle was the best player in the last draft. Had him one as well, feeling good. Obviously, preseason doesn't matter. But like when we look at the Spurs roster and we talk about playoffs, I mean, Devin Vassell injured. I like him a lot. Good player. I think he's going to take another leap. So good player. Keldon Johnson was really bad last year. I don't think he's necessarily that bad. I think I'm hoping for a bounce back from Keldon. And Harrison Barnes is 32, and
but still, that's a perfect piece.
Chris Paul is 39. Trey Jones is solid. Malachi Flynn will, drop 60 randomly in March, and not do much else. Sandro Mamakulashvili, Zach Collins, Blake Wesley, David Duke Jr., Sidi Sissoko, Castle, we both really like. Branham's really struggled. Jeremy Sohan's been a nice player. Riley Minix has, shown some flashes in preseason. Harrison Ingram has been rough. Julian Champagny showed some flashes last year. Wemby and then Charles Bassey. That's not a playoff roster. And I know how good Wemby is. I really think Chris Paul and Barnes are going to be good veteran presences for the young guys in terms of development. That doesn't mean playoffs. And they were so bad last year. The first, 20, 30 games can probably be thrown out based on what they were fucking around with. But that'd be a huge jump in a very good Western Conference.
Yeah, they might have a couple picks this year, right? So I think you're supposed to have maybe potentially 2 in the lotto. So they're going to get better in a hurry. But it wouldn't shock me. We don't know what Wemby could do. And wouldn't shock me if they're flirting play-in game. They should be in the play-in game.
Should?
Maybe.
So OKC, Denver,
just
Minnesota.
Buying more time on this. I'm pushing Suns, towards 3 hours.
Lakers.
What Kings, are you at?
Warriors, Dallas, Rockets, Grizzlies. That's 10.
Rockets should be above. Grizzlies should be above. Yeah, that gets ugly. No, that gets ugly. You're missing someone too that should probably be there, right?
I didn't mention Utah. I didn't mention Portland. I may not have mentioned the Clippers and the Pelicans.
Oh, that's a big one. Yeah, they're no way. No.
Unless they're major injuries.
Unless just or we're they're getting crazy production.
Yeah.
No, they can't get there. They can't get there.
No, so
Spurs fans hate me anyway, so bring it on.
So they'll finish better. They'll finish better than Portland and Utah. I think that's it.
Yeah. They might, and maybe the Clippers.
Barring injuries and all that stuff. But all right. This was a marathon. Rucker, anything to plug?
No, I mean, hey, it's been fun doing these pods in the off season. The off season's almost over. We're gonna be full bat out of hell Metcalf. I'm pretty pumped for this upcoming year at No Ceilings, NoCeilingsNBA.com. Very excited. Off season we had at No Ceilings. We've got a ton of stuff lined up that we're going to be announcing soon. Everyone's been working very, very hard. It's always my favorite when we're quiet because that means everything's cooking in the kitchen. So Metcalf, good luck this weekend. Everyone, good luck. We got less than 20 days till college basketball's back. It's already blooming. Basketball NBA next week, and then Metcalf, I have to be enemies with you after we hit end. So go Vikings.
You're dead to me. Go Lions. No, this is a blast. Very excited for the season. We'll get back to some more draft stuff next week. But He is Tyler Rucker. You can follow him at Tyler_Rucker. I am Tyler Metcalf. You can follow me at T Metcalf. Find all of our stuff at NoCeilingsNBA.com, No Ceilings across socials, YouTube, all that kind of good stuff. In case you missed it, go back, check out part 1, Eastern Conference as well. This was a blast. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and 5-star rating. Till next time, see ya.